Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 22 as always. And in today's video, we are doing something a bit different. We are in a competition to win £100, and I think one of my last videos I did on the previous game, F1 21, I was invited by a league to take part in a series of 5 lap races. And the first place prize was £45, which was the equivalent of being able to buy a copy of the new game. This league here is offering £100, and I think quite a few leagues are doing this now, and I think it's quite cool to see. I think a lot of people just kind of chip in together and they make a prize pool. This league here is MVP Racing League, which I'll put in the link in the description down below. They're based on PlayStation, and honestly, the drivers in here are super nice, super respectful. It's a very well run league, and yeah, just really appreciate them inviting me into this. So if you are looking for a decent league to take part in, especially if your experience isn't the highest, because I believe quite a few of the drivers in here are not super experienced on the game, and honestly, when I race people online in open lobbies, I would rather race against people who are clean, fair and respectful, rather than a driver who is very fast but quite reckless. And I have much more respect for drivers like that, and as you can see, bottling the qualifying lap here. But yeah, there are a few quick drivers in this. The qualifying lap wasn't going particularly great at that point as well. And yeah, the format of this league is it was a one-shot qualifying to determine the grid for the first race, and then for the next 7 races it will be reverse championship order. So got our work cut out a little bit at Bahrain, which is a track that's not one of my favourites on the calendar, but coming through into it, let's see how we're doing. Braking super late, making a tiny bit of contact but getting away with it, and after all that we make up just 1 position. And yeah, my experience from racing in these races was very good. Everyone's extremely respectful, very clean, and as I said, for me, obviously it's good racing against very fast drivers, but drivers who kind of play hard but fair is a lot more satisfying to go against at times. And as you can see, the little bit of a dummy guy down the inside, Alfa Romeo, has gone off here and come through here with finger back going side by side. So we're just going to let him have this corner, and now we're up into P13. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing the first 3 races. So we've got Bahrain, then it's Imola, and then it is Miami. So if you like these kind of videos and you want me to upload the rest of the 5 races after this, then please let me know, and it'll be a pleasure to do so. Definitely check out MVP Racing League, because as I said, I think it's a really almost a perfect place if you're on PlayStation as well, which I think is probably my favourite platform to drive for the overall experience. I think it's a great place to get an introduction into league racing as well, because everyone is quite a fairly equal level and quite newly experienced into the game as well. And yeah, it was just a really big pleasure to take part in this. And you can see throughout these races, without spoiling it, some races were quite difficult in this, which you will see. And this one is going okay for the first lap or 2, but I would say that Bahrain is my weakest track on the calendar, as these 2 guys are now going side by side into here. And I'll probably make a video on this soon, but I think you'll probably notice coming off corners such as this, I just really struggle with the traction, because here in 3rd gear we're wheel spinning quite a lot. I've definitely been making a video because I feel the car is just very unpredictable when you go on the power, and I know it's not going to be a sim this game, but it just feels very inconsistent as we go down the inside of our teammate. But Yeah, I've definitely been having a hard time since the major handling patch, but been working quite hard to improve, and I think my recent league races in particular, the race pace and the qualifying pace is slowly but surely improving. And I've said it many times in the past, no matter how good you are and how dominant you were on previous games, I've even seen the likes of Jarno Otmir struggling on this game as well. I think he's only won one league race himself. It's something you just have to adapt and adjust, and you're not always going to be on top. You have to sometimes dig deep and work on your own driving a little bit as well, because there are people who will be getting better around you. The competition will be improving, and the handling will suit other people a bit more than yourself. So doing lobbies such as this in 5-lappers, which I host quite a lot in my YouTube membership, so thank you to everyone who has been joining that. I also upload all my updated setups, also offer a 30% discount on one-to-one coaching with me at the moment as well. And yeah, I think having lobbies such as this, where people can race you quite cleanly as well, definitely really helps you get a bit closer to your potential. As you can see, we're up into P8 now, so it's quite hard to make progress on this game, mainly because of how difficult it is to recoup the ERS. I was thinking about going down the inside here, but I think that would probably end quite badly on the apex, so gotta be a little bit more patient. As I can see the guy up ahead, there's quite a big gap between him and the next train, so I was going to try and get the DRS here and get as close as we could, so going to make him go quite defensive into here, and we're going to go around the outside, going through the last corner. He makes a bit of contact with my rear end, unfortunately. I did leave quite a bit of room on the inside, and yeah, the contact model on this game is pretty unforgiving. As coming into this turn 1, I think the best we're going to really be able to do here is P6 in this race, which would not be too bad, but the guys up ahead have had a bit of an incident themselves, and this guy's actually got quite a good exit coming off the first few corners, so really there's kind of 2 more opportunities to go. So you've got the middle DRS straight, and you've got the straight going into the final corner as well, as we set a purple first sector, but we don't have that much ERS on board. Trying to get out of the traction here, but it's really off this next double left that I just find it very hard to get on the traction. So you'll be able to hear as we go on the traction, cars always wanted to wheel spin, and I've noticed at the start of races as well, I don't know if anyone else has had this, but when the cars wheel spins at the start of the race, sometimes no matter how smooth you are and how much you back off the throttle, it just keeps on wheel spinning all the way up into 5th gear, and I kind of feel it's a little bit of a glitch. It's just very bizarre of the gear ratios and the traction in this game, but we will be saving that for a little bit of a later video. But they're coming through into this very last turn. Hush Rav F1 wins the race, and yeah, we're going to come home, setting the fastest lap of the race, but coming home in P7, so not too bad. But if only 8 races, we do need to score a lot more points. So 25 points to Hush, we are P7, but now we arrive at Imola. Now it's reversed championship order, so Hush is going to be at the back, so it gives us a bit more of an opportunity to outscore our rivals. So as the 5 lights go out now, we get a fairly decent start, not too bad at all. But at Imola, there really is absolutely nowhere to go into this time, where someone else has just gone over to the gravel already. So made up 1 position and coming to make a little bit of contact with the red ball, using our straight line speed, and we're going to go around the outside, going through into this first sector, up into P10. And it helps that I actually did this track the day before in BRS, so using the same setup as that, just ran a little bit lower wings than what I used in BRS, since this is a 5-lap race, but I was already pretty warmed up on this track and using the ERS. We're going to go down the inside, going down the hill, up into P9, which was a pretty nice move. but you do need to be making up positions quite quickly around the circuit because it is quite hard to overtake. But you can see getting some absolutely insane traction. You can see our straight line speed once again. As I said, many of the drivers in here are not going to be on the level of an Ferrari Elite or WR Smokey, people like that. They are fairly new to the game series, maybe 1 or 2 years of experience, but racing against people who are faster than you, like people who are faster than me, this is the way really to improve yourself and being able to watch their onboards. And if you're actually racing against them 1-to-1, then subconsciously you actually pick up a few things from them. As we're now up into P8 here, let's think about maybe going for a move here, but it's just going to be a little bit tight, almost running into the back of the McLaren, getting a pretty good exit, but he gets a bit of wheel spin. That gives us a gifted position up into P7. Now up through into here, just try and make our way through the field without using as much ERS as possible. And of course the drivers ahead of me are the drivers who finished at the back in the first race, so every race we do, probably the drivers with the less race pace and experience will be at the front as we get another very good exit once again up into P4 now. So pretty good progress so far in this race. You can see the leaders are not too far away. The most important thing is that Hush, the guy who won in the first race, is not making as much progress as I am. So the key is just to try and always outscore your rivals as much as possible. But now we are sitting behind this guy, Burmeister, if I've said that correctly, and coming through into here. Not going to be using any ERS going through this first sector. The leader's about 3.4 seconds up away. He goes a little bit deep into his corner, so it goes quite defensive. So I'm going to go around the outside into here, try and get the traction, use that straight line speed on the exit, use a bit of the ERS, and now we are up into the podium positions. And guys up ahead are 4.3 seconds up ahead now. And as I said, drivers with the least amount of experience and race pace will be most likely towards the front of the race most of the time because of their points and starting position. So I want to see if I can actually catch these guys and maybe getting the DRS of BDV up ahead of me. So coming through into here, using our pace that we had at Imola in BRS, which felt like the pace was actually really good. This is used to be, I'd say, one of the tracks that I felt weakest on, but with the practice of BRS, actually turned into a track that I felt quite good on in the end. So you can always turn a weakness into a strength with the right amount of preparation. But yeah, I was already very familiar with this track, and yeah, I think it's definitely helping out here because the pace is very good at this stage of the race. And you can see the guy up ahead of me is 1.7 seconds, so we've actually closed in quite a bit here. I'm going to try and get within his DRS by the end of the lap and try and save enough ERS to maybe even go after the leader for the last lap if he doesn't have any battery to defend with. So coming through to here, it's really crucial that we try and get within this 1 second detection point, which is just before the last corner now. I think on previous games it used to be a little bit further up the road, but we are quite far behind, so maybe we could have used a bit more ERS to get a bit more closer. Coming off this last corner, using the ERS, and if you see our straight line speed here as we set the fast lap of the race, looks like his red light is flashing, and you can just see we're an absolute missile straight up. Oh, we're going to go down the inside here. It is turn 1. Decide to think a little bit better of it. So again, in the championship, you've got to think of the consistency, and there is a fairly big prize on offer here. So we're not going to be reckless. We're going to take our points, do a little bit of dummy to this inside. On the exit, he loses a bit of the car, and we're going to get him on this exit here. And yeah, but the most important thing is that I keep outscoring my championship rivals, and consistency is going to be key, and how many positions you can make up coming through the pack. And I'd say on the F1 games that probably my strongest discipline is 5-lap races, since I do that quite often with a lot of my YouTube members and a lot of people who join my lobbies. I'm quite used to starting at the back and going through the field, so I've had plenty of practices doing this as we make a bit of a mistake here. So thankfully we didn't pay the price here, but we've managed to come from, I think, P12 up into P2, and that was a very, very nice race. So in the end, 2.2 seconds behind. Hush only made it to P10, and you can see we're actually level on points as we go into Miami. So now we are going to be starting pretty much on the back row. I think he's going to start ahead of me. Oh, behind me, because he won the first race. So yeah, we start in P16. So at Miami, let's see what we can do here. This is another very strong track for me. Felt like I had really good pace in BRS round here as well. So coming through here, you can see we're struggling with the traction again off the start. This time, just trying to avoid a little bit of the contact zone. Now we're actually back into last, and Hush has actually managed to make up quite a few positions. You can see he's well inside the top 10, I think, already. So he's made a really, really good start. Coming through here, we're up into P13, but getting an illegal overtake, so we're going to have to let this guy very frustratingly back by, but then we're going to try and make sure we don't lose 2 positions. So go down the inside as a little bit of carnage up ahead, but the wings I'm running here, I think, are 2-1 or 3-1. So it's exactly the same as my BRS setup that I have uploaded within my Discord, but I think 1 click less front wing since we are in a 5-lapper. And you can see Hush has actually made his way up into P8, so it's really crucial that we don't really get complacent and make sure we keep outscoring him in each races, because it is quite easy at times, especially when you feel you have the pace, to let the confidence get to you. And I've done that many times in league races where I was quite excited about the potential result and thinking that I'm in complete control, and all it takes is that one moment of lapse of concentration and things can turn sour very, very quickly. And again, please let me know if you want me to upload the rest of these races, and if you like the format where I pretty much show the entire race, because it's not only just for entertainment, but also hopefully it actually helps people learn a few things when they are driving as well. As someone else has just gone off, as Hush is now up into P6, so we've got to make sure we follow him through this field and don't let him get too far ahead in this race here. And as you can see, we're about to see the straight line speed that we possess once again. So coming through to here, we're not going to use any of the ERS here, and this is something I quite often do in 5-lappers. I think a lot of people are quite trigger happy and use a bit too much ERS too early, but if you can save your ERS and maintain a good pace, then you really can pick off quite a lot of people towards the end of the race. And I think now lower downforce, if you can get away with it, is a bit better on this game as well. As we see with people such as FRA Elite, he likes to run very low downforce, but the braking distance doesn't really change, unfortunately. And you can also still get away with the traction by running very high gears, which is a little bit unrealistic in my opinion. So I really hope they do change that in future games. But yeah, I think it doesn't really punish you enough for using lower downforces. So we do set the fast lap of the race, which is immediately beaten by Lazy but Talented. So pretty awesome PSN there. And they've kind of stopped our progress at this stage. So we're just being very patient with the battery. So just hoping that these guys are kind of wasting theirs a little bit more than mine. As coming through into here, we get a pretty good exit here now. So now we're going to use it, as we're going to get the DRS. And I knew that my straight line speed, especially against people who maybe don't have as good setup knowledge as myself in the game, they'll probably be running quite a bit higher downforce. So I knew that the straight line speed would be most likely superior to a lot of people in this lobby, as now we are actually behind the Ferrari, so got to really make sure we stick with him and try and obviously beat him in this race. So because there is only 8 races in this championship, so again, just being very patient with the ERS, just try and let these guys do the work, and you can just see in a straight line, even without using the battery. We were closing in quite a bit as a Williams has now spun out, as another Alpha has spun out as well. So up into P5, and we've now set the fastest lap of the race again, but which has also been beaten again by DET behind us. And yeah, this is a stage where I probably need to get this move done. And you can see we do have about 65% of the battery available. So now coming through into here, really just try and set him up quite nicely coming onto straight. So a lot of people go quite deep. We're taking a bit of a tighter line, getting a better exit, and let's see what our straight line speed is like now. So coming through into here, so come back go to right, but we decided to go to the left. The Mercedes, my teammate, his red light is flashing. You can just see the straight line speed we have is absolutely no contest. And now we're up into P3. The 2 leaders are right here ahead of me, so potentially a last to first almost is on the card. So come through into chicane, let's see what happens here. And the Alfa Romeo has squeezed the McLaren into the wall, unfortunately, so I don't think he was quite aware of where he was. And let's see, is his red light flashing? Yes, it is flashing. And is this guy up in the lead? Is his red light flashing as well? Yes, it is. And you get to see, with saving the ERS and having a set that's very fast in a straight line, there really is nothing that they can do here at all. And now we're up into P1. My championship rival is in P4, and we're going to try and set the fastest lap of the race. So let's see what we can do on this last lap. Do only have about 33% of the ERS remaining, so we can't go the absolute full deployment, but just really hoping that the Ferrari can't make his way through the field and we kind of stretch our advantage in this championship, because although this is definitely fun to do, there is a prize on the line, so definitely want to make sure we aren't leaving anything on the table. And you can just see with the Delta, since they don't have any ERS, we are just gaining so much time in a straight line, still not even under 10% at this stage of the race. And now coming through into this section, which I really do enjoy on this game, so really hooking up these curbs, and actually gets our second warning, so one more and we will get a 3-second time penalty. But using the rest of our ERS going down this straight, let's see how much time we actually gain on this straight, as the Ferrari's actually made his way up into P3. So let's see what we can do going down the straight and into the final braking zone. Missing the apex ever so slightly, but that's not too bad. Getting a good exit in the process, and coming across the line, we're going to take P1 and set the fast lap of the race. Hush actually follows us through to come home in P2, and that is my first 3 races in this £100 competition. So again, thank you so much to MVP Racing League for hosting me. Let me know if you want me to upload the remaining races, because they aren't particularly easy, some of them, let's put it that way. And yeah, it was a really big pleasure for me to drive, a lot of fun, and thank you so much for the support of the channel. Hope you're having a great week, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.